Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night. It's 7:03 p.m. Central. Listening to United Public Radio 107.7 uh, FM New Orleans. And let's see here. Ozark Mountain UFO Conference, April 8th to the 10th, 2022. Best Western end of the Ozarks, Eureka Springs, Arkansas. You can check out YouTube at UFO, the network's YouTube at UFO Paranormal Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio. Also, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. And it's another channel on there, and you can listen to us at UPRN, Twitch, and Twitter, iTunes, SoundCloud, and iHeart. And also check out bestfriends.org. It's to help dogs and stuff to no kill shelter. So bestfriends.org. All right, we got Wham here with us tonight.
Hey.
And tonight's guest is Jim Hunt. How's it going, Jim? Good to have you here.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, Wham.
Hey.
And I guess what was the catalyst, Jim, that got you into the paranormal and the spiritual? Was there something that happened? What was the catalyst of it all?
I don't think people look at it differently, or what most psychics or mediums see. Anyone that's intuitive. For me, I grew up with it. I woke up with it. I knew nothing different. I saw auras around people my whole life. So everybody had a rainbow. And I went to a very strong Catholic upbringing in school and at my elementary, right through to high school, where I would have been the sign of the devil had I spoke about it more often than I did. And so some of the nuns would ask me why I would draw rainbows around people, and I would just say, doesn't everybody have a rainbow? So they just thought, whatever. And so that's how I grew up, and basically seeing dead people from about 5 years old onward, helping me live, explain, grow to the 63-year-old man that I am today, and been around.
That's right. Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And one of the big experiences that I've had, and I spoke about it a little bit before we started, was beings of light. And there was one time in Silver Lake here in Florida, I was listening to something in the Bible on a DVD or something, and I studied different spirituality systems, but that particular time I put that on, and it was playing scripture, and something said, go outside and look at the sky. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. So I went outside and turned towards my house, saw two beings of light, like people, but made of light, leave my house like they were in it, and went through the roof, I guess, and flew straight into the heavens, and completely sober, not even weed or anything that day, and saw them, with my naked eye, and I'll never forget it. I've had a guy draw it for me and stuff. It's just, I ask a lot about it, and I guess, do beings of light come up a lot with you? And the big question is trying to figure out what these beings of light are. Are they us? Are they an alien? I've heard, angels. There's just so many different ways to look at things.
Depending on the ability of each individual for their intuitive prowess, I guess, your strengths, your abilities. I mean, I'm a well-rounded psychic medium because I'm able to speak to the dead. I see the dead. I've seen beams of light that you speak about, but not in an ET form, but in a spiritual form. I've seen us move from one plane to another, straight forward and sometimes backwards. But I've never looked up to the sky and said, "Oh, that's where I see all the dead people," or that's in Catholicism, saying, "Oh, there's heaven," and you look below you is hell. It doesn't work that way on my side or my realm of life. It's just you get everything. I get more orbs of light. I get apparitions, full apparitions. I have conversations with the dead, which help me. It just happened today. We were out for dinner, and I spoke to someone that was atheist who was serving us, and she asked us. I said we have to hurry up because I'm coming onto a podcast this evening. Oh, what do you do? I said I'm a psychic medium. She says, oh, I don't believe in that. But then you know how they turn around and they want to ask you a question anyway. She came around, turned around, and I just gave her to her full double barrel, exactly who she was, what she was doing, how she was doing it, why she was doing it, and the reason why she was stuck. And I ended up with a new hostess because I made her cry, which was horrible. But you tell them the truth, right? And we're
Definitely.
afraid of the truth.
Definitely. And I know a lot of people, have gifts open up when they've gone through traumatic experiences and things like that. And I think that's for me. And I know it's different for every person, but I think that was kind of why my mine opened up, was just going through all that stuff with testicular cancer and stuff at a young age. It's kind
Hmm.
of like the trauma gives you gifts in some weird way or something like that. Uh,
I hear about that and I see that, and it does open up our minds when we go through traumatic experiences, which lead us to be able to open up our souls a little bit differently, in my humble opinion. So, if something like that, a cancer related situation, those type of things, I get it. My mother was a psychic medium long before she had cancer and died, and there was nothing very much traumatic that happened in her life, but she was intuitive. So it all depends on the human being and where they're at and how they're doing it. And I just look at, everybody has this ability. It's just where we take it, how we use it, how we interpret it. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly in the spirit world, just like we do in the human world. But I trust the dead over the living.
And when you have conversations with the dead, is it like telepathic in your mind? Is it kind of like telepathy?
I can put out a digital recorder in my office and have a conversation, and you'll get bits and pieces of a conversation, but a majority of them are speaking to me within my third eye, my throat chakra. A majority of the information that I get is to the left side, my heart chakra side, which I pay more attention to than the right side of my personality, or the right side of my being, because on the right side of energy, I'm not getting good answers. The left, they're more sacred, more heart protected, and they're giving you more positive answers. And I'm not saying the right side doesn't do that, but it'll give you an answer with a consequence. The left don't give you any consequences.
And I know earlier tonight in the restroom, I saw a green light flash above a clock. And I see things sometimes, but it's been a little while. And it was just like a green sparkle. And it was just enough to say, well, okay, someone's in the restroom here with me. I don't know who it is, but hopefully nothing too weird. But it was definitely, and I've seen ghosts. I've seen Native American ghosts in full attire before, and things like that. And I do think a lot of my experiences were possibly my dad coming through on the other side after he passed, and it could possibly be some of the beings of light. There's different ways, but some of the weirder stuff I've had is UFO stuff, where witnesses have seen stuff in the sky above different houses that I've lived at, and I don't know what the stuff. It could be top secret military, it could be alien. I don't know what it is, but I know there's weird stuff that seems to park over houses that I've lived. And I've had friends say, "Jeffrey, you're attracting them here." It's like, okay, maybe I am, and it's been scary sometimes too. But there's been a few UFO things lately, but nothing like my Goldie oldies back in my younger years, where I've seen actually different kinds of beings that seemed like they were coming from the UFOs, like some beings, small hooded beings. In the woods with a friend, and the small hooded beings were standing around a black box, and a cat jumped towards them, and they vanished. And me and the friend both were like, "Did you see that? Yeah. Did you see that? Yeah." And it was kind of a mutual thing where we both saw it, and that was definitely, there's been weird stuff like that. And I know during that time I had been reading stuff about the Celtic otherworld and druid stuff, and sometimes I read a lot of shamanism and have guests on about that, so I know things that we do can attract that kind of stuff too on some level, just by putting your attention on it. So it's almost like maybe I attracted something for just reading a Celtic otherworld book. There's different things that happen on many levels. So when it comes to your experiences, when did it start getting a little weirder with different kinds of things? Like there's different paranormal creatures and stuff that you've encountered, correct?
There's multiple types of different entities that I've seen in my lifetime. I've seen more grays in the last
Grays.
5 years. ETs. We call them Greys. Um, I call them Greys. Everybody's interpretation could be different. They don't acknowledge my presence when I see them, and these are spiritual beings, and they are extraterrestrial. They'll acknowledge you with a little tip of their fingers, or they'll look at you and give you a quick nod, but they never give you any. Me personally, they've never paid attention to give me any answers, and I'm the one who's trying to get their attention, and I'm just not at their level. They just walk right by you, and there's so many different planes and levels. I get spirits walking through me all the time that are at higher levels, and the spirits that are with me today, they're always on the same level that I'm at. I could be at higher levels than the other ones. There's a spectrum of so many different spirits and entities around us. I grew up seeing the dead and having conversations with them and saving my ass most of the time. So they've been very protective of me. So I just love what I see and feel. It's amazing.
The gray thing is interesting because I'd never seen them before, but recently me and Christina have had some experiences where we've seen them. And at that time, was a nurse doing hospice care for her grandmother who has transitioned now. And there was I let white light from the sun fill my body when I closed my eyes in it and looked around the house, and I saw one standing in the room with the elderly lady, the grandmother, and it saw me, and it was like in the room with her, and it almost looked astral or something, like it was on a different, like it almost looked like a weird sunspot, but like you would see from flashes in the camera or looking at the sun in a weird way, but it was
Hmm.
shaped like a being. That's the weird part. It was like it saw me. And then another time Christina saw one standing over the bed of over me, and I don't know if that was a positive or a negative, or I don't really know what to think of it, but definitely some creepy experiences with those lately that I'm trying to make sense of. They seem kind of emotionless and kind of, I don't know if they are or not, but they just kind of come across that way. And definitely there's creepy aspects to it for sure.
Most of the spirit world are emotionalists in our world because they're on a different journey than we are, and they're looking for their next move, where they're going, a different galaxy, a different plane, a different level, coming back to Earth, doing something completely different, learning, educating themselves. It's For me, reincarnation is something that is joyous, and it's important for a lot of people. Reincarnation is something that I believe in very strongly, and I believe that we all have been back here many, many times, and it's usually speaking to your guides that are surrounding all of you that give me slight informations about some of your past, where you've been, what you've done, why you're doing it, why you have blockages, why you're not doing your thing. That is what makes me a very good life coach in my day job. So it's amazing.
And so, was there something that you'd always seen these different sort of beings, but when it comes to some of your experiences, what's one that you'd like to tell us about that you'd like to share with us, like a particular one?
My very first sighting of a full apparition was when I was 5 years old, sitting in a sandbox in a backyard, a community backyard, where there was like a lot of apartment buildings, three-story apartment buildings. Most of the kids were older than me, and they were off to school. It was a cold September day. I'm playing in the sandbox, and I'm looking across the sandbox. Now it's just not those regular 4x6 things. This was built for the neighborhood, so it was like 18 by 20 feet full of sand. Anyway, this older man with a beard was sitting crisscross to the other corner, and all he was doing was pointing down at a certain level on the in the sand, and kept on pointing at it. And I'm looking at him, going, "Oh, cool. Okay, what's he pointing at?" Grab my little pail and shovel, start digging, and I'm pulling out my GI Joe with the space capsule attached in it that I buried it there probably last fall, and I was asking my mother where it was, and he pointed it out to tell me where it was. That was my very first in, ghost medium experience. It was beautiful.
Definitely, and thanks for sharing it. I know one subject we have on the show a lot is Bigfoot, and I have a book about Bigfoot that's interviews with different people about it, and
Hmm.
it ranges from the people that think it's just an undiscovered ape or whatever, or and people that think it's interdimensional, and it's just different points of view on it. Is
Absolutely.
that something that you've had any experiences with?
The only experience I had was I was at Devil's Thumb in Colorado, and I was back in the bush, and I was with a client actually who was showing me some of the wildlife, and we had walked in there and we had a horrible stench. We didn't know what it was. The horses were kind of upset and not wanting to be around. So we dismounted the horses, walked a little bit. The smell got more horrid, and she just said, "I don't know what that is." And I said, "I've never been hunting, but I hunted with my uncles, and I was the guy who was carrying the knapsacks, I guess, full of food, and I know what a bear smells like, a rat. Yeah, I know what animals smell like, an elk, a deer, but I had never smelt anything like this before. And that's the only thing that I've ever come across. And she had mentioned that there were sightings of Bigfoots up in that Devil's Thumb area of Colorado.
It's definitely a fascinating subject. I've had Carter Bouchard on and Ron Moorhead and all sorts of different people about it. But Carter works for that BFRO, and he's more. They kind of stray away from paranormal, but he doesn't. So it's always good to interview him because he'll tell you the paranormal stuff and be frank with you, saying they don't touch it, but I do. And there was one situation where we were discussing if you put all the UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings and missing people maps over each other, that there's some weird patterns there that are a little too close for comfort. That probably look like something out of the X Files show if you mess around with those maps. But it's
Interesting.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely a weird subject for sure. I think there's something interdimensional about them. Maybe they all aren't. I don't know, but there's something just otherworldly about them. It seems like to me on some level, and because I mean, no body. There's so many theories about it. But and then if you get into the Nephilim, discussion that
Yep.
maybe they're the Nephilim and things, it's definitely a great subject uh, to get into on many different levels. And I've never seen one, and sometimes I wonder why they always try to appear to people that want to probably shoot them on a television show or something. But they never manage to, so that's good.
That is good.
Uh, yeah, definitely. But just to think that there's tribes of these things out there, I mean, it's fascinating and it's spooky in a lot of different ways, for sure. There's
Certainly is. Definitely
tribes
is.
of these beings out there that exist on multiple levels. There's one story about Linda Godfrey that is supposed to be true. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but she's pretty respected. But some guy got hit out of his car or something, and he overheard two of them arguing if they were going to eat him or not, or something. And it's in one of her books, but. And there's, who knows? Maybe some of them do. Some of them probably don't. There's probably a wide variety of different ones that, some of them might do crazy stuff like that from native folklore and the cannibalism and weird stuff. But of course, I would like to think there are good ones that don't swing that way as well.
I
But
can't imagine we smell good or taste good because we certainly aren't very good human beings lately. So I
yeah,
don't see why we would be anything delightful to eat.
definitely. And then there's those missing 411 stories from David Pilates. I've interviewed him before. Those are enough to make
Those
you, those are terrifying. From
those are very terrifying.
Yeah, those will make you, be careful not to go into the woods for a week or so after reading
Absolutely.
some of those. They're really creepy. But so what about shapeshifters? What's your experience with that? I believe there's something to that. I've had the skinwalker thing come up, which I try to be careful and not even say that word. It's too late now. But things like that, with Skinwalker Ranch and all that crazy stuff, those seem kind of shapeshifter-ish for sure.
I would go more in the shapeshifter type personality. We give names for everything that we do see and we don't understand, so that does make sense. From the native or the aboriginal side, shapeshifters are basically tricksters. They're more I that's from my side of the world, and that's what I understand a majority of the time. I've seen shapeshifters personally on subways and in airports. They have something to do where they dislike psychics and mediums. They will pack up and leave and go and not even stay in your presence. They will walk away from psychic mediums. It's like we'll call them out, basically. And that has happened to me 3 times in my lifetime, both at the airport. Weirdly, both times in the airport in Denver, and the last one was at the subway in Toronto, Canada.
What did they appear to look like? I mean,
Human beings at the beginning, glassy eyes. Um, they move methodically. They don't move as if they are human. They move very mechanical almost in some way, but lucid mechanical. And you can just tell that they're not normal. We have everybody who's in their busy days or who are not paying attention to the way that they're walking, or they might think that they have cerebral palsy or something, or they have a problem with their nerves if they're paying any attention. But these people, as soon as you recognize them, they'll get off at the next stop and make sure that they don't see me again.
I hear a little bit of feedback, and it sounds like another dude talking, but it's very faint. And I don't know if it's something creepy or if it's something. The StreamYard doesn't normally do that, so I don't know
I
what it
am
is.
picking it up as
I
well.
hear it too, but StreamYard is not known for doing that, so it's a little weird. I'm not. It's not that terrible, but
I don't do very good things with electronics, just to let you know ahead of time.
that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's something. I don't know, but I'm open to the possibility. But StreamYard normally does not do that. I know that much. Uh, so, what about demonic spirits? What has been your experience with that? And when dealing with that kind of stuff, what are things you do to protect yourself?
There are so many different variations of and themes of protecting yourself. I do a grounding technique that I've used from a demonologist that has worked for me forever. It's not long and drawn out, but you'd have to read it, memorize it, and follow through with it. I white light myself before I go into any situation, and then I take this mirror effect and invert the mirror so that anything that is going to be something that wants to attack me, the energy will reflect right back to them, return it back to them, and it's very protective of me. I have a young family that I have to take care of when I get home, and I have a crew when I used to be on TV to make sure that they were safe and happy and not taking anything home. And not one of them has ever taken anything home. The only person that ever did that was me. The poltergeist type personalities are the most disgusting, gross. Wow. Sorry.
What is that?
They're upset with me because I really don't give a shit about them, right? So you're going to get that feedback, and I'm really sorry for that.
It's okay. It was definitely strange for
Well,
sure.
that was a growl.
I'm far away and I'm hearing stuff from where I'm at. So
It's
That's what
definitely.
happens when you have a psychic medium on the show.
Well, I mean, StreamYard does not usually do that, so it's giving me the creeps. But I like it, so hey, but anyway,
A,
uh,
a poltergeist will do anything in their power to deceive you, to make you feel uncomfortable, to make you feel weak, vulnerable, uh, suicidal, criminal. They'll do everything in their power to make you feel that way. And they don't do anything else but that. They instruct your soul to do things. And the weaker people will always turn around and do something like that. I usually tell them to F off. I'm being very polite in my language tonight.
I
So
appreciate it. That's the only rule is no F, so you did the right thing. But yeah, it's definitely hearing some things. I'd like to go back and listen to it, re-listen to it, and see what comes up. But there was some really loud ones for sure.
we have a woman here now who's back. Yeah, she comes on every once in a while. I can
And
hear her voice.
and when you say a mirror, do you imagine a mirror or like you have a mirror?
I No, you visualize a mirror. The spiritual world, you work on it on a spiritual level. You're protecting yourself because you're going into something that's really unknown and it's provoked. If you think of what you and I are discussing today, we're only 5% of the population. The rest of the population do not believe in what we do. So we have a small generation of people that love what we do and pay attention to it. So when we do have that happening, some of the percentage of those do not go in protecting themselves, watching out for themselves, paying attention to the darkness and the energy that comes around you. It just doesn't come right in front of you. It comes up from walls, it comes up from inside your chair, it'll come in through a doorknob. It'll do anything possible to hide itself until it's ready to try and attack you as best as it can. It always looks for vulnerable places to attack someone.
And do they seem to go after people with gifts? Like I've noticed, like it seemed like at
Always.
some point when I became more awake on some kind of level, and seeing the UFO stuff, that I actually had some type of government vehicle come out, a silent type helicopter, and the guy was in it, and he was dressed in like some kind of military stuff, and he waved mockingly, and it shot away. It was almost like something came out because of the UFOs in the area, because it was a hot spot, like an agency or something. But they never came face to face to me or anything. But I know on a spiritual level, it seems like you can awake to these gifts, and then it seems like there's some kind of beings that maybe don't like it and they're parasitical. And I think I've been dealing with that lately on some level. It's just like they try to suppress it, don't they?
A lot of them do. A lot of them don't like us giving answers because they want to create anxiety. They want to create this fear amongst us. They do everything possible to make us afraid of what we know. So when someone like me comes in, who's calm, has a good demeanor, and works well with the spiritual world, and I get along with so many different spirits and so many denominations of people who do this, um, they they can't attack you as much. So they look for the weaker people around me to try and hurt them or try and get to them, which has happened quite often.
Would you consider it spiritual warfare in a Christian sense, or do you look at it from a different point of view that's not religious?
I absolutely have no belief in any Catholicism of any Christianity at all. I think those are man's words, and I think that they've created that fear in us. I believe in a higher power and it belongs to the universe, but there is no such thing as God. From me. That's my opinion. I'll get the hate mail again today.
So, do you think it's like a source of energy, though, like a source of?
Absolutely, it's a source of energy. It's an energy that is positive, that tries to help you reflect on the things that you've done and what can you do better. That's the type of universe energy that works in the spiritual sense of things. But to believe that we have these 10 commandments and we have Judaism and we have Buddhism and we have all of these other religions doesn't work for me. Someone just yelled at me.
I heard it. I heard it. It's definitely
Someone just called me a jerk just now. You'll hear it back again.
it's definitely weird for sure, no doubt about it. And well, there's a source, and then we're connected to that source,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mean, I guess religion is kind of man's attempt, an ill attempt to understand it on some level. And that's some stuff I've gotten into with Neil Donald Walsh. He's been on the show, Conversations with God, which are some pretty interesting books where God seems cool, like Jack Nicholson or something. So hopefully he's like that. but they're good books.
I see. I prefer if he was Bob Marley myself. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The Nicholson would be a trickster, no doubt about it. But yeah, it's strange that we're picking up so many things because I'm used to Skype doing that. We're not on Skype. We're on StreamYard. I'm not used to StreamYard ever doing it, for sure.
I'm
And
glad that it's happening.
yeah, that's definitely interesting. And let's see. And the things going on right now with Russia and Ukraine, these beings are probably rejoicing. They feed off that kind of stuff, don't they? Like murder and war and like these kind of beings that seek to.
To me, I think Putin's infested with poltergeist type energy. He's a narcissistic sociopath. He's one man that is trying to control the world, and I cannot believe the rest of us are still letting all of this happen.
Definitely. And Dr. Tory, who's coming on in April, calls Putin the reptilius infected. Like he says it's parasitical, and he calls it reptilius something, something, something. It's a pretty interesting take, but there's definitely, I mean, the level to go and do that to a city, there's consequences spiritually for those kind of actions. Murdering, I would think, that would set you back on so many levels. If you don't want to come back here or whatever and go to a different level, murdering people, that's going to just set you back, I would think,
It
on
does,
a bad karmic
100,
path.
100% it sets you back, but he's not looking at that. As human beings, we're extremely selfish. We're indignant to most of the human race. We don't love each other the way that we should. We're always trying to combat, be better than Mr. Smith next door. It doesn't change. Our world is like a high school. You get all levels of people, and it's just a revolving wheel of the same thing over and over and over again. Us as spiritual people, psychic mediums, we're not going in with attitude. We're going in with explanations now to try and show you what's happening out there, and not trying to. I don't profess to be the best psychic medium out there, where a lot of them do. I love the psychic mediums that are out there that are much better than me and can explain things better than me and teach me. I want to learn as much as I can so that I can give it to my family so that they can prepare themselves too.
And obviously, the death comes up with all of this, the death experience. And I know that's a complex question, but what have you learned about that experience? We lose our bodies? It's kind of like shedding our clothes. What have you learned about that experience? It seems that's with the paranormal, the ghosts and stuff. That seems kind of like to be the hidden core of it, trying to understand life after death, right?
February 17th, 1978, my mother died. I was 20 years old. My mother was very intuitive. I was the only one sitting in the room, which is sad when I had family surrounding us. But I was in the room with her, and it was as if she passed a torch. She was in a very Molotov cocktail state, to rid her of her pain and everything that she was going through in her cancer. I held her hand, left hand to left hand. I swear to you, I received light in my left hand, and it made me conscious more than I had ever been in a 20-year-old state. And all of a sudden, I felt like it was 500 years old. She let go of something to give to me to protect myself and my family, and I'm going to be doing the same thing to my children. There's a connection there of our energies spiritually that we give to each of us. So in death, we give it to someone else that can take it, utilize it, and help everybody. The idea is us to help, to give messages to people. Sometimes the dead can't move into the light because they still have a message to give to someone. Whether it's dark or light, they still want to give a message. And that's what I do, is give messages to people who are alive from the dead.
And it's usually like a mental thing in your head that when you like telepathic, you think it and then they answer. I've had that happen on some level, but I didn't know exactly what it was. There's definitely something communicating, but I don't know. It could be an alien, a ghost, or who knows, God, I don't know. But so it's kind of like you have the conversation in your mind's eye. Do you ever do it out loud? like
I
a,
don't understand the question.
like when you have a conversation with the dead, do you ever do it where you're vocally out loud with them?
Absolutely. Sometimes I need to hear myself so that I can get an answer. And that's when you can carry your HD recorders and you'll get certain answers that will come along that I'm still giving. In that old show of mine that I used to do a couple of years ago, Knock Knock Ghost, they have reliable feedback of information. I've asked a question and an intelligent answer has come back. And those are the things that I look for. And that's what I use to give answers to everyone. You have a very noisy background, guys, just to let you know.
Can you hear it? It might be my turn that off maybe, or turn it on fan. It might be my AC in the unit. Do you hear anything, Wham, in my background?
I hear kind of a general. It just sounds, honestly, what it sounds to me is like sort of low grade machinery in the background, like refrigerator. Like it
Yeah,
sounds sort of like my refrigerator going off.
it's off now. It was it gets hot, so sometimes I turn on the window unit, but
Oh, I
sometimes
see.
I played it. I listened to it last week, and you could hear it a little bit. It wasn't that bad, but I just shut it off. It's getting cooler, so it's fine. So what about the subject of elementals?
Elementals are amazing.
What are they? Like
Elementals are
nature
the ones that
spirits?
are natural spirits. They're the one who are trying to protect our earth. They're the ones that are. Um, if you've ever been in the thick of a forest and watched the trees breathe, it is one of the most amazing and astounding things I've ever seen in my life. And anybody can see that, just not me. It's out there. They've photographed it. Take a look at, go look at it, go look it up on the World Wide Web. It'll show you exactly how trees breathe and reunite us with pure oxygen afterwards. Um, Elementals are there to protect the environment in so many different ways. You go camping and someone cuts down a freshly a beautiful tree that's still standing instead of looking for the dead wood in the forest, they will get pissed off at that group, and it has happened.
And are they like we folk, like the fairies and stuff like that? Is that kind of what they are? Or is
um,
it different?
I've never, again, people talk about fairies, I've never seen them, so I can't really answer to that. These are basically energies that you can feel around you, just like you can feel the rain fall on your face, the snow, the cold. You can feel the elements of what's around you, and they just enforce more on you at that time. Um, you're in Florida. I can walk into Daytona, and I've been there, and I'm freezing my ass off because I'm feeling all the elementals within the Everglades or different places that I've been to as well. You can feel the energy.
For some reason, I was thinking of that story where the Buddha has that Naga or reptilian come over him to protect him from the rain so he can continue doing his meditation. For some reason, I saw that in my head just now for some weird reason, but it's an interesting little story from Buddhism of some reptilian creature helping Buddha. I'm sure
Cool.
it was a great time. But it's something that it's raining, I believe, and it does something over him to block the rain so he can continue his meditation and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But are Bigfoot nature or elementals on some level? Because I know they're supposed to be like they call them
They
boss.
coincide with one another for sure. They help one another. There's so many portals out in the vast forest that we have, Alaskan triangles, those type of things. They're definitely there. I have some clients in Alaska that have seen things that have freaked them out to this day, and they've moved from Alaska just because of what they've seen.
Can you say what it was? Like what
Um,
Bigfoot or something?
they're considering it to be a Bigfoot. They're considering it to see it within um, 30 meters, 90 feet in front of them.
Wow. And how
And
big was it? Did they say how many?
massive. It was like they had never seen anything. It was close to 8 feet, 9 feet tall, is what they were telling me. They were, they had a lot of fur. They had identified a face. The eyes were reflective when they flashed a light on them. Their eyes would be red, not green or white or the different colors that we see. Um, and they moved quite quickly. The person that I'm talking about fainted, and she fainted in this grassy area, and she was picked up, and her clothes smelt of that stench of a Bigfoot, and she was rested at the front door of her house. So that's why when you were speaking about someone wants to eat them, this one didn't want to eat them. I think they observe us like we try and observe them.
Yeah, I'd like to think that there's only a few that still only eat us, but the rest are good.
Just
Like Harry and the Hendersons.
Jeffrey, just like ETs, we have good and bad.
So has the UFO thing come up a lot for you? I mean, is that something you see? Have you seen them, or is there things that
Um,
happen with that?
the only time that I've seen anything was with my father. I was 6 years old. He was delivering groceries for my he owned a grocery store. We were moving towards the northern part of Montreal in the Laurentians with a special delivery. Our car completely died. My father was a Navy man, so there was not much fear in that man's life. He was a very tough son of a son of a gun. Um, and I pointed out to him, "Hey, look at that circle up there. Look at the circle of lights." He said to me, "Now, Jimmy, that's just that's just a helicopter. Don't worry about it. We're gonna go home." As soon as he said that, lights went out, car stopped, nothing moved. It hovered over us. I don't know for how long. I was 6 years old. I can't really tell you, and I'm not gonna exaggerate on it because I really didn't know. Um, but a few minutes later, or maybe a few hours later, because we were kind of late, it was dark by the time we started moving again. Um, my father looked at me and he put his finger to my lips and just said, "Never talk about this." And he never talked about it to his dying day. So definitely there was something there. And that was my only personal experience.
Thanks for sharing it for sure. I know. So you're like a life coach as well, like to help
I
people
am.
with
I'm an
life schools and
intuitive
stuff.
life coach. Yeah. I've been doing this for quite a while. I love doing my job. I like working with people. I can read their past, present, and future kind of thing in the intuitive side, see what their blockages are, see why they're stuck or why they can't create, why somebody can't be an artist, why somebody is not moving up in their job, why someone just said, "I've been doing the same job for 27 years and I can't seem to get out of it." And we do these sort of figuring out through their guides why they're still stuck in that situation. I give them my 2 cents. We work on things, and they usually they overcome a majority of their situations.
I relate to some of those comments. What are some of the things that people do to get unstuck? I mean, what's some hints there?
Um, well, first of all, we don't see our value. Nobody sees their value because we're taught to be controlled in our environments. Um, I'm outspoken. I'm honest about what I do and what I say, and I have family that are absolutely disgusted with what I do, who don't even talk to me, who think that I'm the prolific liar of the century, and I exaggerate this to get attention. That's my own family. So I get used to shit like that, and I put up with it, and I don't care. I really don't. I did at the beginning, and now I don't. And I find that people, when they come to me for life coach decisions, they are controlled by their environment. They don't have permission to say, "Hey, I want to go and take dance lessons, but my mom won't let me, or and I've never done it before." It could have something related to their past where they were an instructor or they did were dancers back in the day, and it was something that they never completed in that lifetime, and they needed to at least complete or feel satisfied that they learned. And if they do something as simple as that, Jeffrey, their life just moves forward 100% because they get that confidence back. I've seen doctors leave their jobs to become florists. It's cool.
And it's definitely, I mean, there's things that I've dealt with my brother that you can mention, like when you said that some family members don't believe, what you do and things like that. Well, first off, I'll tell the story. My mom's husband, who's passed, he didn't believe I did a radio show at all. It's like I think I even played it to him, and he didn't believe it. Like it's like he thought I was not lying about it. But my brother is a concern because I can mention something like, "Do you have a spiritual life?" Or if you even say a Jesus word to him, he gets angry, like weird, like upset, and it's just disturbing. And I try to figure out ways to pray for him and stuff. And lately he's been drinking too much, a lot. But I noticed, like, I'd asked him something about a spiritual life, and it was just the way it was just weird. But when you said some of these things come through to other people, I've noticed that with him, that try to get to you, or affect you on some level when they come through towards others in your life.
And it's not really an opinion that they're trying to give to us. They're trying to instill a sense of fear that they live with, that they can't focus and fix themselves. So they project it onto others that they believe would be weaker than them to handle it. My brother in law sat with me down on a Christmas Eve and looked at me and just says, I've never seen one of your foolish shows in my lifetime, and I never plan on watching it. And I hope that you know that. Like he just needed to say his piece. I just looked at him and I just said, that's up to you. Do whatever you want. He was looking for an argument, and I'm just going, do whatever you feel like doing. Just live your life, but I don't care about your opinion. And that's what we all need to learn is opinions. We have opinions on these shows because you're asking me questions about my opinion.
Yes.
But I don't go and give you my opinion unless you ask me for it. And the world would be so much better if it was that way.
Does a lot of it come down to them just being terrified of death and they just can't handle it? Like, I mean, that's like what the people get mad if you say Bigfoot's paranormal. I've had people to threaten to beat me up just for saying that, but from chat rooms or whatever. But and I'm like, well, dude, when you die, it's gonna be pretty paranormal, and that's kind of the evidence, death for me with that the go-to. It's like you're going there, so might want to be
Fam-
a little more open to it.
what I've grown up with in my years of life is family can be the worst enemies to you because they know how to affect you. They know how to hurt you. You've grown up with them. And so they will find your weakest point and as if taking the knife and putting it back in that wound to control that environment so that you uh, um, just agree with them, not to disagree, but so that they can leave you alone. My life coaching for the last 20 years of my life is people need something to believe in. And I turn these people to believe in themselves and not give two craps about what other people feel and think.
That's the best way you have to do it, is just an attitude
But
of
it's hard to convince them, Jeffrey. Trust me,
yeah.
because we've grown up one way. And again, Catholicism gets in the way.
So when it comes to the afterlife and the levels, do you think there are places that are kind of hellish though? I mean, obviously there's places on the earth here that could be considered hellish if you go to the wrong
I
part
was
of
just going to
town.
say, well, let's go to
Yeah.
Russia. Never
Yeah,
mind.
let's go
You
to
know,
Ukraine, right?
exactly.
It's terrible.
If you only understood what we feel as spiritual people, the the crying, the fear of that country because of one idiot trying to control the world, and all these people are suffering, and we just sit and watch the news and pay attention to it, and just raise our hands saying we can't do anything about it. In life, we do the same thing. We do it to our family, we do it to our friends. In the spiritual world, I'm protected. I know who I am. I'm not going to change, but I'm not coming out to fight you because I really don't care what you do. It's not my place. Unless you need my help, I'll help you. Otherwise, go ahead and do what you do. There are so many different variations and planes in our lives that we just follow through on an instance of understanding that plane that we're in right now, or this life that we're in, was a horrible life that we put up with. And now we don't have to do that anymore because we've outgrown that soul life. And now we're on our own pretense. We're making our own judgments. We're making our own opportunities. So we've grown out of those old soul lives and we've become better. It's just very difficult to hone in on a lot of the things that you're asking. It's just, there's so many different resources of fate that happen.
Definitely. And so out of body experience, is that something that's come up a lot? I mean, is that something that you do like as astral projection?
Um, I believe that it can be done. I think that it might have happened to me a couple of times, but I can honestly say I don't know if that was a dream state or if I was stoned one day and I just didn't know. I I can't really say, but I believe in it.
From my experiences, and of course I don't try to push them on anybody, but I just tell the story. And there's I think that light being is us on some level, and I know shamans call them luminous beings of light, but I think maybe it's our soul on some level, the part of us that leaves us when we croak. And I think that part of us goes somewhere when we sleep. And sleep kind of is, in a weird way, kind of, I've heard it called the little death, from Anne Rice and different stuff. And other places, somewhere else called it that. But it's just, it seems like we kind of project out. I think we do it when we sleep and, maybe go to that source to re energize or something like that. I don't know. But I know I've had some experience where I've looked into the heavens and seen a lot of those beings of light. And I think there's like a realm around the earth, the quantum realm where we go. It's like a staging area. And I've had glimpses of it. And it's just fascinating to think about. And from the shamanism perspective, we kind of are like the avatars of the source, like that, the great spirit, the web of life of shamanism. And we're kind of like little mini cameras of it.
The way that you're explaining it is very honest, and it's how a lot of people interpret it. It's how we see ourselves. Not anybody is right or wrong in what they feel and think, and nobody should be judging them on it. We all see things so differently than other people. But if, because I see it one way, why am I not going to believe that you see it in your way? And why can't we come to a conclusion that your way is just as good as my way and let it be? But people we need that proof. We need that light. And if you have been watching through COVID in the last 2 years, you've had more UFO sightings than any other time in the last 26 months of our lives. People have seen so many spirits, ghosts, dark energies, shapeshifters, people moving in, fading out without the CGI experience or people trying to bullshit us. But it's out there where you see it and you go, wow, I can't explain that. And we've had more of that in the last 2 years, that so many things are so unexplainable, we're trying to understand it ourselves. Think about the psychics that are out there that we see what we see. And we can't tell you 50% of what we see because you think that we would be put into a home, locked up, straitjacked, or put in a room that we'd never see the light of day again.
Yes, most assuredly. That's how most people view it. And like I said, the evidence to me is death. You're going to those quantum realms, whether you like it or not, whether you like to talk about it or not. That's where you're at it
It
in the
is.
long game. In the long game. Wham, anything you'd like to add? Jim's got a few more minutes, and then it's going to be me and you. But if there's anything
Okay.
we can add, just let me know. And
Not really. No.
she's listening up in New York. But if there's anything later you want to talk about, just let me know as well, because we'll have some time to discuss that. Uh, and Jim, it's just interesting with the life coaching. I've done the show for I think it's 14 years now. I've lost count. I've been trying to figure out ways to make income with it, which is not easy. I don't really make that much with it, but I'm looking into Patreon and things like that. But the other thing I want to do with my fiance Christina is my own another channel on YouTube, where you can kind of make any kind of video you want. You can, put white noise up. You could put a meditation. You could put me rambling about light beings, whatever, anything goes, kind of like a collage situation. But I've also written a lot of books in the past and trying to, it's been a while since I've written any, too long, but it's like you get kind of caught in these, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I have a normal job that I work that bores me to tears, but I have to do it to generate income. But you get into a spot where you kind of get, locked up, where it's hard to do the next step. I mean, is it really, it's just really just, you know, batting down and doing it is what it comes down to in the end, right? Just do it.
Jeffrey, what you're saying is do it. I was in a dead end job most of my life. I was doing things for others and never accomplishing anything for me. The thought of going into business for myself was scary. And imagine thinking of going in as an intuitive life coach, a psychic medium that I kept under, I protected myself so I wouldn't share that information, and it would come out, and then people would look at you strange. I lost a lot of connections because of it, but now I'm more respected for who I am because I act who I am. and I'm not going to change for you nor Wham or anyone else. I am a true believer in helping people, and I believe that people can help themselves. We just have to help encourage them and show them that there is a pathway to do so. You're doing a job that you told me, Jeffrey. You're doing it to pay the bills. There's got to be other ways that you can pay bills. There's got to be other ways independently that you can make things work, but we just don't go there because we're too afraid to take those chances. I left a very high paying job for me to do what I did. And I love every minute of what I do. I have never shut a door on anybody. I have always worked and enjoy what I do. But we just don't get the opportunity to feel that way because we're too afraid of the man or not making a dollar or being kicked out to the street. We just got to
Yeah,
believe, Jeffrey.
you have to believe, and then it's like you have a gun to your head too. When it comes to survival, it's the worst
Yeah.
part too.
And the problem about the gun, Jeffrey, it's never loaded, but we think it is.
Definitely. And so, what are you working on next? Is there anything in the future? What's coming up?
I am going to have my own podcast by May 15th. It's going to
Ooh,
be, I'm going to be trying to see where I can come up with listening to others and me asking the questions and putting them out there and seeing. And I'm looking for interesting guests. And it just doesn't have to be paranormal. Could it be why you have a writer's block and we can figure that one out? Or why aren't we doing the things that we're doing? Just generalities of life that people are stuck. And a psychic intuitive life coach can bring it out and talk about it on air with people. I've got a lot of people lined up for it. I'm so looking forward to it. Sorry, and it's just going to be a lot of fun.
is that going to be accessible at jimhuntofficial.com? Will there be like
It,
links to it and stuff?
it will be on a new page on jimhuntofficial.com. People can follow me on Instagram at jimhuntofficial and Twitter Jim Hunt Official and on Facebook Jim Hunt Official. So
Very
it's
cool.
all available down there.
Have you got a name for it yet?
No. What if people go onto my Instagram account? They're going to get a free reading if I can get something from what they think it should be called. So I'm looking forward to everyone's ideas. I've gotten about 60 already. So if I pick somebody's, it's going to be cool. I have a small following, but I have a great following, and these people are amazing that follow me. So I just love it.
Well, we appreciate you so much coming on, and I'll keep an eye out for that for sure. Keep us in the loop, and
I certainly will.
I wish you the best, and I hope it does really, really great.
I appreciate all of this, and I want to thank you for inviting me and setting me up. And I enjoyed this, and it was a pleasure watching Wham because I didn't see much else. And Jeffrey, thank you for all the questions.
You're welcome, and have a good weekend. And thanks so much, Jim. Take
Peace,
care.
brother. All the best to all of you and your fans.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All righty, everybody. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM, New Orleans, and I'm running on hardly no sleep and hallucinating. And we're going to go past the edge of insanity beyond the wall of sleep and call forth the ancient ones now in our delirium from a pig.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired too. I've been up since about 4 a.m., so I'm pretty tired
It
too.
sucks. That it feels
Yeah.
like crap. And the worst part is when you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep, and then you lay down and you just for some reason you can't. There's like a weird hyper something. You're like, what the hell? It's just horrible. And then the worst part, this pig, like every 2 or 3 hours, we're trying to figure out something different with her, but not put her outside so she's in danger. We're figuring something out, but it's got to be done because it's just like a pig alarm clock, like a
Yeah, she started squealing.
oh, it's so annoying, and it's in the room with us. That's the worst part. It used to not be, so it's right there, and it's the most annoyingest thing ever. I squirted with a hose earlier. like, it is just and it's for food. Like that's the motivator, no matter what. I don't even think it cares about peeing or pooping at this point. It does. Sometimes it goes out there and won't do either. It just gets weird. It's definitely
Well,
crazy.
you guys are all living in a very close, highly stressed situation. So the
Yeah,
fact that you all are are managing to hold it together at all, I think, is rather remarkable, actually.
yeah. Christina got an RV, and it's an older one, and we haven't slept in it yet, but the next few nights we may. It'd be good to have another place. It's 1997. Uh, it's definitely neat. It was a good deal. I've never slept in one ever. It's my first time really even, I think, being in one. I think I've been in one once, like some friends or something for a minute or something, just going in or whatever. But I'm gonna mess with that and hopefully somehow sleep in it and keep the pig in here and hopefully get some sleep at some point.
So it'll be kind of like an extension of you guys' house.
Yes, yes. And it's got a bedroom and a shower and a kitchen, and it's pretty macked out.
Well,
But
that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And then maybe if y'all decide it, you probably won't want to take the pig with you. You could just start traveling the country,
yeah.
doing your podcast from many locations.
That's the hope. That's the hope. That would be cool to do sometime in the future for sure. Uh, and So, did you hear those noises and stuff? They went away when he left. I don't know what it was.
I did hear some noises. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's ghost. I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know what it
Yeah, I
was.
don't know. He seemed to be pretty sure of what it was. So, who knows?
Maybe it
Maybe,
was.
you know,
There was some weird ones, but I mean, I don't understand. He's on StreamYard. I've never heard it do that really with voices and stuff that are just coming from another electrical source that you don't know what it is. And I'm not sure what it was. Definitely weird. I'll have to re-listen and see what comes up and everything for sure. So the AC's off. You don't hear anything now, but when it was on, you didn't really hear it that bad, did you? It was just like kind of a
no, it was just sort of like it was just sort of like it just sounded like a machine in the background. Like your air conditioner, or it was sort of like a rumble, kind of
yeah.
like a rumble sound. I had heard it. It wasn't too annoying, really.
Okay, and apparently, let's see. Jim. There was some picture I put up at the site, and apparently it wasn't Jim. It's from his show, but he left his show because of some kind of situation, and another dude took his place. And the picture I put up is
Is that
not
the other dude?
the other dude. Yeah,
Oh,
so I
damn,
gotta change him out as far as that. I
damn.
have to change it out, but there's an email saying I'd really like you to take that down. So I'll get to it eventually. But
Hate those kinds of boo boos.
yeah, the biggest problem is WordPress. That particular picture has to be 1200 by blah blah blah. So a lot of times you get the pictures and it cuts off people's heads, and you have to like search and search until you get the right picture. A few people have had their heads clipped off because I was just like, screw it, they'll get over it. Wasn't that bad. Just clip the top off. But anywho, that we'll have to switch that out at some point. Anywho, I've Knock Ghost is on Amazon, and let's see who's coming up next. This one I've been wanting to interview for a while. Micah Dank. Apparently, his family has a lot of CBS roots. His father was a producer and radio news editor at CBS News in Manhattan, and his grandfather was a producer at CBS News. And he's just a series Into the Rabbit Hole. That's next week. And his first book, Into the Veil, explores astrology and hidden codes in the Bible. I saw him on Leak Project, and it was just talking about a lot of weird stuff that's weird in the Bible. So we never really did a show like that. So hopefully find some kind of excitement and revelation in doomsday or some codes or something weird like that. But we'll get into it. There's other things he talks about too, like DMT and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And astrology, like the picture I put up of him, which is probably from another show because I couldn't find a picture that fits, so I just used this one. Astrotheology in the Bible. So astrotheology, that's, I'm trying to figure out theology. I mean, is that like astro religion, like religion with, I guess, astronomy or whatever. So that's something we'll discuss. And then the next guest is Andrew Aloha, s- psychic astrologer, Reiki master, healer, ascension master. He was actually in the chat here and said something interesting about Capricorn one night, and I started talking to him and got him on the show. And that's where we met him at. Let's see who's coming up for the other ones after that. I've been scheduling kind of slow. I'm scheduling for April right now. Uh, April 1st is Augie Nost. That's with Jay. Then Dr. Torrey, that's Jay. Dave Morris, that's with Jay on the 15th. That's Bram Stoker and Nicole. He makes YouTube videos. Here's a weird one when you come back, and I sent you this book. And
Uh, yeah.
yeah, April 27th, I mean 22nd, Megan Rose, that was it Spiritual Marriage or I know the title, I just forgot it right now, but it's the weird one where you marry things or whatever.
I'm so you weird one where you what? Marry things?
Like, let me find the title of it. I forgot it. I sent it to you though. I'll find it here. Hold on. Like here it is. Spirit marriage. Intimate relationships with otherworldly beings.
Oh, you got to get Stephanie Quick in on that
Yeah,
because she's completely about that.
I'll tell her about it for sure.
Yeah, she's completely about that. She would get so excited.
My biggest thing is it seems like everything in it's like positive. Like I don't see how it's all positive. Like really, it seems like something
Well,
weird.
obviously she experiences it as positive, so whatever.
Yeah, it's like basically like letting weird beings like do you and you marry them and stuff. Like it reminds me of the ladies like that married a pirate ghost or
Well,
or a bus in a train station or whatever.
that's what I mean. You should talk to Stephanie because like one of the people that she's completely into. And let me see if I can remember this woman's last name. Um, she was her last name was Craddock. I can't remember. It was like Irene Craddock or something like that. But she was a woman who wrote a bunch of like she was kind of a spiritualist too, I think, and she wrote like a bunch of or like several texts at the turn of the century from the 19th into the 20th century, and she was completely into this idea of having like spiritual lovers, and so she had all of this like really interesting astral sex, but she didn't have any like sex here, but it
Yeah.
was like all with other entities, and she was obsessed with it. I guess we would call her a fetishist now because she was obsessed with it, but she was really interesting and kind of an interesting writer, and Stephanie's all about her.
I'll tell her about it and see if she wants
Yeah,
to
she's all
listen
yeah.
in because
So
it'll help with 2 hours of that. So kind of like an Amazon erotica or something.
well, I mean, you were gonna write some Bigfoot eroticas.
Yeah, crossed my mind once, but you can make some bank on that stuff.
well, right. You just have to figure out how to put it together.
Yeah,
You know.
but it's weird. There's like a picture of some, I guess, like a Cernunnos horn being and some chick, and it's weird. But there's some voodoo stuff in it and things like that, and different things like that. So should be interesting. let's see. And that's the last one I have scheduled. So I'm working on some more. I need to do April 29th in May and all that stuff. So I'll figure it out slowly but surely. I'm trying to change this picture real quick. Of course, the picture he sent me is huge and probably is going to cut his head off. So it's not. I have to go find another picture. I'm just doing it to be polite. Because I understand. I don't want to get into it too deeply. We told me about some of it off air, and it just sounded, like a bad thing that happened, and they parted ways because they wanted to turn it more into something, dramatic, that stuff that may have not been true or whatever. Tell you
Oh,
what they do with those ghost shows. So he left.
yeah, well, yeah, I'd leave too because it's like, you know, if you're going to be doing something like that, why are you going to like be introducing questions into it?
Yeah, that brings
It just doesn't make any sense.
brings you bad luck to do that. I never understood people that make up this stuff. Why on earth, in God's name? Like they're crazy. Like Stan Romanek and stuff like that. I mean, why? I mean, he obviously made some money on it, but it's even when you're people that tell the absolute truth don't really even make any income on this stuff. So I just don't. It's just weird. I guess they're just crazy. That's the only thing I could think of. But especially like the Stan Romanek situation and all that. That's the whole, kooky as hell, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah, well,
I think,
there's lots of kooky.
yeah, I think Romanek got out of jail.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I believe so. And I don't know anything else. I haven't heard anything else, but I don't know if he's. I don't think they're saying much, or I don't know. I don't. They all have me blocked, so I don't know what's going on. And probably better off that way. But I heard he got out of jail. Of course, he made up that the Men in Black beat him up or something, and probably had his wife beat him up or something weird. Like that's what I was.
Maybe he just sat there like hit himself in the face. Like there's some people that
Right.
are crazy enough that they do that.
That would not surprise me at all, for sure. So now it's like, okay, here's a knock knock ghost. Maybe this is him. It's hard to tell. Like it's a little picture. Maybe this will be better. Hopefully, it's a little picture of him. The biggest thing is the size. It's like a real pain in the butt with sizes. Doesn't really. Uh, there's a bigger one that'll work. WordPress is very specific about what size you use, and it's so freaking annoying. It's very annoying. So, what's up with your TV watching? You haven't been watching anything. You don't watch any.
I don't know. I haven't been watching anything. I've hardly had time to watch any movies or anything in the past 2 or 3 months. I just been way too busy. The only thing that I've been watching and keeping track of is that I've taken some time to do is the Star Trek Discovery and the I've got a new a new season of Picard.
Okay.
So that's literally the only. I mean, I've been reading some stuff. Like I've been actually reading through. We had him on a few months ago, reading through Don Webb's book about vampire magic. So I've been reading through that book, and I've been reading a couple of other books that are sort of like classic UFO books. Um, and But other than that, I mean, I've been doing a lot of spiritual practices, but I sort of have, I don't know, stepped away a little bit from concentrating so much on this stuff. I mean, I do this every now and then. I step away from it a little bit in order to sort of pursue some of my own private interests. So, I mean, I still connect with Stephanie online, and um, I mean, I'm doing this to some, but I'm not really. I don't know. I'm not that engaged with the paranormal community at the moment. Um, well, the only other thing is, I mean, what I'm working on is, do you remember Michael Hacker that we had you had on last fall?
Sure do. He sent me something recently, an audio book, Brad Steger, that he did.
Right. Well, he is. I um, I did a contract with him, and he is in the process of recording and producing my Mysterious Beauty, Living with the Paranormal in the Hudson Valley, and it's got a release date. If everything goes right, it's got a release date of somewhere like late April, early May. So that's happening.
Cool, cool. That's cool. Definitely keep me in the loop so I can promote it. And when you're
Yeah.
on, feel free to promote it and remind me to promote it.
No. Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of extra work I have to do on it. Like um, because it's got an appendix and a fairly extensive bibliography and notes. I have to go through. We have to figure out what we're going to do with the notes and the bib, and usually, I guess for things like that, for an audiobook, what they do is they create like a supplemental PDF that when you click on the book to listen to it, you can automatically click on that as well, so that they can have access to the photos if you have photos, and then to the appendix and to the notes and all that kind of stuff. So, I've still got to do that. I just found out about that a couple days ago. But he's working on it. He sent me the first chapter, a kind of a sample first chapter for me to listen to, and the only thing I had to help him with was how to pronounce Albany in New York, because in other parts of the country, including where he lives, where they have a city that's spelled the same way, everybody says um, they say Albany, not Albany, and
Albany.
they say Albany. I mean, I did when I first moved here, and was quickly corrected. And I explained to him, I said, this is a book about the Hudson Valley. It's a book about New York. New Yorkers are not going to put up with you mispronouncing Albany. So, and I've been helping him with the pronunciations of, like, the indigenous words in the text. There are a lot of them. Um,
Okay, cool. So he's doing all the audio. That's got to be a difficult job, I would think, doing that. You got to be perfect at it almost on
well,
scale.
there's a way that you do it. Apparently, I mean, it's like, you have to have these editing machines, and he's learned it well enough that he does it in chunks, and then he can edit it all together so that it's smoother. And
Yeah.
so, like, for example, when I corrected him on Albany, what he did was, in many cases, he went back and he was just able to do a pickup, just edit the sound, just like insert it, you know. And I've heard him. It's really funny because, um, basically, when you're doing an audiobook, you're supposed to read it as given. You know what I mean? Well, the problem is that in my audiobook, because I had to do the editing in it, there are some editorial issues from time to time. Like I accidentally will drop a word, or um, something, and he's corrected my grammar a couple times, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But he clearly did not read it the way in which it was written. You know what I mean? Yeah, corrected it.
I'm looking him up, his last message to me, so I can plug his the book he sent me. It's it's on audible.com. Real Visitor Voices from Beyond and Parallel Dimensions, the Real Unexplained Collection, now available on Audible. And let's see, it's by Brad Steger and Sherry Hansen Steger. And
Right.
I think I may have. I've written interviewed him a few times. I never got to get him on the show, and then he passed away. But I did some written interviews.
Oh,
They're
excuse
pretty
me.
interesting. I had one of them in New Dawn magazine, which is pretty cool. That I did with Brad Steger. It was in that Australian magazine, New Dawn.
Uh huh.
That was a long time ago. Uh, one of the big. I'm just thinking of some of the written interviews. I had that Jim Mars one that I did in Paranoia, that Ron Patton's magazine, Paranoia. I don't even know if he's still putting that out or not. But the audiobook thing's interesting, especially when you think about Ed Kemper doing them and from jail. The co-ed killer, the guy, when they have a serial killer that
Right.
does audiobooks. Ed Kemper, I've read articles about it. It's just creepy that he has that job and gets paid for it, I guess. Which probably I don't know if he gets paid regular
Well,
money.
it depends, but there are limits actually to how much money they can get for stuff like that. So the money may be being used in some other way. I mean, it may be being funneled to family, or it may be being funneled to the victims' families or whatever. You know what I mean? There there are laws that have been passed in many states prohibiting prisoners from just simply being able to make a living while in prison.
Someone asked in chat, "What is Church of Mabus?" I don't know.
Oh, that question again.
It's like,
It's
do
like
I gotta?
it's
I,
like I mean, I started doing this with you, and like I don't know, it was like 2012 or something. It's been like almost 10 years, and people were asking you that question then. So I guess they're still asking.
yeah, well, back then it was kind of like a shock rock kind of thing, just to piss people off.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
I remember Guy Weddle going, "Why do you want to put church with that?" I was like, to piss people off. that was that was kind of my mindset at first. Now it's just like I say, Church of maybe yes. Just
Well,
my own spin on it.
there you go.
'Cause there's a guy that used to say Mabus meant maybe us. I'm like maybe us. No one knows what it means. And then that John Ho guy
Oh,
who
I know that guy is crazy. He's so crazy. I'm like, listen to him. He's so crazy.
and John Ho made up the Antichrist thing. He like just pulled it out of his butt pretty much in a documentary one day, and that's stuck. Like there's no, I mean, he's kind of the source of it. Of course, I think he ignored my interview request. Like there are people that are pretty. They're scared to do the show if they ignore you. If you ask them, Mavis, oh my God, I'm gonna die. But just stupid. But I try to look at it from a Bruce Campbell kind of Evil Dead thing. You can look at it from, oh, I shouldn't have did that, or oh, Peter Levinda said the weirdest thing about it. I created a thought form that drains me every show. It's like, what's that? Like, that feels kind of true a little after
the,
Frankenstein,
the egregore of the podcast, right?
the void.
The
I
void.
created the void. And then I've had weird paranoia. What if I'm Mavis? I'm going to croak and all this stuff's going to happen. Like,
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jeffrey. Neither you nor I are that important.
true.
We
Very
just
true.
simply aren't.
And then we've had Eric on Grimsma that says Trump is Mavis and then breaks it down in weird codes that are kind of weird the way he's deciphered it, meaning that through the German Drumpf is the name that he used to do it. But we've just had different perspectives on about it. Mostly just try to laugh about it. It's just a word, for goodness sake. Uh, it's just all it is. A word that no one knows what it really means except Nostradamus. And
He said.
he might have just, yeah, he might have just been tripping when he did it.
Yeah, he said.
In that Nostradamus movie, he takes something and starts tripping. Like
Well,
it
maybe
starts,
Maybe Jim Hurt, since he listens to the dead and they talk to him, maybe he could like tune into Nostradamus and find out like what Nostradamus meant by it.
Yeah, for sure. I know there is a weird. I don't have it, but there is a Dolores Claiborne. I mean, Dolores Claiborne. That's the Stephen King book. Dolores Cannon
I was going to
book.
say,
Dolores Claiborne.
what?
That's that's a weird Stephen King book. There's a movie, I think, Kathy Bates or something. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
yeah, and some kind of weird molestation stuff that's creepy. But the I mean, the whole thing. Dolores Cannon, the lady that did Ozark, and she wrote a book, The Custodian. She wrote a weird Nostradamus book that I should get it one year. We can probably find it pretty cheap, but it's like all kinds of weird stuff that she was channeling Nostradamus supposedly or something. I'll have to look that one up. Dolores, I have one of her books. I think it is that Custodians, and I never read it, but I have it somewhere. Dolores Cannon, Nostradamus. It's called Conversations with Nostradamus. Wow, that's some trippy stuff.
Putting it right up there with Conversations with God.
Let's see, Amazon. I'd like just to read the description of it. Conversations with Nostradamus. Uh, let's see here. It's Dolores Cannon. It's just her like talking to Nostradamus, dude. Yeah,
Hey,
get
dude.
worried.
Hey, dude.
People say it's great, so maybe maybe there's something to it.
Wasn't Dolores Cannon the one that was into all this new age stuff and then she became like a born again Christian and now she she
That's a different lady, and that's I think the one you're talking about is the angel lady, right?
yeah.
Doreen Virtue.
Oh, that's right. Doreen
Yeah,
Virtue.
that was kind of weird. I used to have like her CD. I think I still have it. Some chakra clearing. I listen to it all the time, but I saw that, and it's like I have some of her cards, and suddenly she just like dropped all that stuff and got real kooky. It's kind of like that hit Anne Rice one time, but I don't think she got as kooky, but a little maybe. But and then Anne Rice came back to the dark side and wrote some more vampire books. So that was
Part of the reason she came back is that, and she talks about it, is because she just has had no patience with the Pope's attitude about certain things like gay people and abortion, I guess, or whatever. She realized that the faith experience that she had with with the Catholic Church was real, but being attached to the institution was another thing entirely.
gotcha. So apparently there's 3 books of this Nostradamus channelings. My God,
Well, you got a lot to say.
they're like 366 pages. Oh, get Eric to read those and tell me what's going on. It's a trilogy. The trilogy.
Nostradamus trilogy.
There's a good Nostradamus movie that's old. That's really good. It's the only one that I know of. But in it, he trips. He takes something and trips out, and starts having his visions and stuff. And then I think he's healing people with the plague with rose petals and thought, whatever he did. And then his wife and kid dies from it because he can't get back there in time or something. So he goes like this dark situation. He goes dark. There it is. Wait, is that it? Nostradamus. I'm trying to look it up because it's a really good movie, actually. That's a weird one. That's like I don't think that's the right one. I'm trying to look at the dude's name that plays him. I can't really his name. I'll spell the guy that plays Nostradamus. I'm having trouble saying it, but I'll spell it TCHEKYKARYO. He plays Nostradamus, and F. Murray Abraham's in it.
Mm.
And who else? Julia Armand, Amanda Plummer. I don't remember who she plays. Rucker Hauer. He's like a crazy. It's by a guy named Roger Christian. But it's pretty good. It's 1993. Probably the only Nostradamus movie that I know of. I don't think there's any other ones besides documentaries. But it's like a movie. Has pretty decent reviews. Some people complaining about it. Uh,
Well, there's always someone who will complain about it.
yeah, I've looked at those praise for the hairy man comments on Amazon. There's some in there. Andy would call them spooks, I'm sure. There's some rude ones in there, but it still has 4 stars, I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's good.
4 stars is just fine.
Yes, 4 stars is really good for a book. But sometimes it's fun to go through them and try to figure out, what's going on. Like there's some rude ones in there. Yeah, it still has 4 stars for sure. Uh, some of them are in there. Mothman. There's too much Mothman in here.
Too much Mothman. Oh, you
Too much.
mean other than Bigfoot?
Yeah. Like
Well,
someone was.
Andy was helping you do it. I mean, what else? What else is there
Yeah,
to do with it?
exactly. And let's see some of the ridiculous, the worst. That's one of the lowest ones. Here's one I don't get. 3 stars, not too good. 3 stars is not really bad though. Really, is it? The 3 stars isn't that bad. Like a 3 star movie's pretty good usually. 4 stars, it's supposed to be better or whatever. Three, two maybe. That's low, but three's good. How's that not too good? Just don't understand people's rating systems.
Not. It's funny. Not too good. What does that mean? I'm not sure even what that means exactly. Not too good. Is it? It's sort of like they're talking about like he's eating wings, and this is the wing sauce.
Yeah,
It's like it's not too good.
like just
It's
not
not
too
too,
good. 3 stars
not
for
too good.
praise for the hairy man, the secret life of Bigfoot. But I'll take 3 stars over 2 or 1. That's good to me. Three
Oh
stars
yeah, absolutely.
for sure. So the book, what is the company again? ET something for Mike's audio books.
Oh well, no, it's that I don't know. I mean,
I have it somewhere. Let me look.
yeah.
Mike, I can look it up on his bio, or yeah, I can look it up on Church of Mabus. That's where
Yeah.
it's like ET Accardia or something. Let me get the right one, so I'll mess it up. Mike Hacker. Mike Hacker. Here's an interesting thing that we can talk about. Recently on let me tell you this first. ET in Arcadia Audio. That's the name of it. ET in Arcadia Audio.
Okay.
You can find the Brad Steger book, and
Okay.
his stuff's on Audible. And it's a strange little neat little name, ET in Arcadia. But the thing I want to talk about was Chase Klowetsky. Have you ever heard that name before?
It sounds familiar.
She was used to be on the MUFON Star team,
Oh
and
yeah, I do remember that. Her. I do remember.
and I was friends with her at some point, and she went to that KGR radio, which I had all that trouble with them, and the child predator Bill Fort worked there, and I exposed that, and all that stuff happened where they went to this girl's house who was 15. That I believe the daughter of the guy that owned Boeing Trucking was her. She was in Anonymous and stuff. She told me the story of how Race Hobbs and Bill Fort came to her house and said she won this contest, a catfish contest. And Bill Fort pulled her aside and said, "I'm not supposed to be here. I'm a child predator on the registry." This girl's like 15 or 16. And then her uncle ran them off. Like just creepy, weird, creepy stuff that this. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but she told me these stories. And then at one point, uh, someone went on KGRA and made, this was a long time ago. Steve Fermani and all these people got on there, and Steve Hudgens and all these people made fun of me for living in a mobile home and being poor with an ex of mine. And I heard about it, so I went after all of them and
Mhm.
found out stuff that pretty much didn't destroy them, but they had them reeling about it on multiple levels. Race released a whole press release about it, saying I knew Bill was this. I believe in second chances, and of course tried to make me look crazy. But this dude raped like a 12-year-old and works for him. And anyway, uh, and then I had another person, was it Jamie Havocan, send me like weird threats of hacking me and showing me weird hacker stuff on his computer, saying, I'm going to do this to you if you don't shut up. I still have that video. And you can tell it's him, like this guy, you could tell it's him that's doing it. And it's like in court, it would be, he'd go to jail. It's so stupid. Like he's threatening me and pull up my addresses. And they all got mad about that, the child predator thing. They went crazy about it. And I would have probably never known about it or even did it if they didn't mess with me, making fun of me and stuff on the air. But anyway, Chase Kowetsky went there. Micah Hanks went there. Micah don't really talk to me anymore. I guess we're still friends. I haven't spoken to him in years, but he was on the show like for 8 times, 10 times. I was on his show. And then he went there, and I guess we don't really even talk. Hopefully he's still alive. I haven't heard from him since that fallout with all of them. But Chase Kowetsky used to tell me stories about working for Robert Bigelow. She was on the Star team, and her and Robert Bigelow would go out to supposed UFO crash sites. To her, that's what it really was. And he would retrieve the stuff. She had to report to him, and she didn't like it. And also said that she was on the computer they call God or something. There was nothing hardly on it at MUFON or something weird. But anyway, the story goes with her. She was out in this field. This was in Medium, that site Medium or something, by Ryan. I forget his name, but he wrote it. Ryan something. It's in the Church of Mabus group. It's about Chase Kowetsky's first alien encounter. And apparently her and this other MUFON person who I know and I'm friends with went to this cornfield where there's activity and pyramid craft and stuff. And supposedly something made a noise in the woods. And Chase said that she didn't want to be the only person in ufology who hasn't seen an alien. So basically ran with this story that she saw a gray alien there when the person who I know who was at MUFON who quit since was there, and there was nothing there at all. Like she didn't know what she was talking about. She didn't see a gray alien. Chase ran with this story of seeing a gray alien, and it wasn't true. And I believe this person who was there right with her, she was there. I believe her over Chase or anyone, and it was made up. And it was posted on Greg Bishop's group, Radio Mysterio or whatever it's called, and the Medium article, and all these people were discussing it. And then that some stuff came up that I posted about it not being true, and they were discussing it, and they were all calling Chase a hoaxer pretty much. So this whole lady is like supposed to be like a large respected UFO person that's been in MUFON. I don't know if she went back to MUFON, but I mean basically her whole legacy is built on a lie. And it's weird because she acts like she's the most professional person on the face of the earth, on her.
Well, maybe she just really wants it to have happened. I mean, it's kind of like that woman, whatever her name was, that did stuff to her skin and was trying to pass herself off as a black person when she was a white person.
That was weird.
And then she tried, she used the idea of race as a construct, which I understand because it's a social science idea, but it's talked about in a different way than she was talking about it, and she was trying to make the argument that because race is a construct that she could be black if she wants to. It was like
that was weird.
Well, you can change your skin color, but you can't have the same set of experiences. You know what I mean? You just can't. And so what she would end up doing in order to have credibility, because like she was a regional president or director of a chapter of the NAACP.
Yeah.
What she did was she would she would create these stories about being discriminated against as a black woman when they never happened because it couldn't because she's not black. So you know what I mean?
It's
It was just
crazy.
that she'd like make this shit up in order to have credibility. And
How can you make stuff up like that and just live off of it, and not think about it every day? I mean, surely, I guess they just don't. I don't
I
know.
know some people, I guess, just don't. I mean, there are times when I have felt the necessity, and not in a public, never in a public situation, like that, but that I have felt the necessity to, you know, not just spill all the beans, to people that I know, just simply because either, you're trying to keep the peace or, trying to protect somebody or something like that, but to just publicly base your entire persona or identity on a
Lie.
falsehood, on a falsehood.
Makes you just as slimy as Stan Romanek, and that's what's over there at old KGRA radio. It's gross. You can look up Bill Fort, Church of Mabus, BILLFORTE, Church of Mabus, MABUS, of course, and it'll come up, and it's the whole thing. There's a whole registry. He's on it. He's just over there. I don't know. It's crazy. I don't get it. But there was the whole Stan Romanek thing. I mean, somehow he made that little puppet in the window, and it actually looked pretty good. I mean, considering it was on David Letterman, for God's sake. Like, he went on David Letterman,
Yeah, that's wild.
and that whole thing, they caught him with pedo stuff on his computer, and then he's like, they put it on there on purpose. No, I doubt it. Because I'd heard weird stories about him and stuff with family members and awkward hugs and weird stuff like that. And, strange things like that. And of course, there was some, uh, oh God. Somebody, Graham Ganson told me this story. This is one I probably should have shut up and not tell. But that he was at a convention.
But you're going to tell it anyway.
Yeah. And he went up to Travis Walton, Fire in the Sky. I've interviewed Travis with Thomas Reed a long time ago. And he asked him, what do you think about Jeffrey from Church of Mabus? And he said, something. I heard Jeffrey was spreading lies about Richard Dolan and the Starborn sisters and a threesome. Or something like
What? A
a
threesome?
threesome with Richard Dolan and the Starborn sisters. And I'd heard that from someone. I'm not going to say who, but I had heard that. And I just repeated it. Funny, And next thing you know, Travis Walton is asking Graham about it. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard weird things about Richard Dolan and divorce and weird stuff. So Richard Dolan's called me crazy before because I went after KGRA on live radio. So
No, well, I seem to remember when you did that. I mean, I didn't actually hear it, but I heard about it. So, and I remember the time period really well.
there was a time where I went to KGRA chat with Chip Pleasure, also Pleasure, Chip Pleasure. That's his XX name, but Chip Pleasure, and another guy, Shepard, and that Jimmy Church show was on. And we were just, there hanging out, kind of trolling. This was a long time ago. And I decided to call in. And they answered. Next thing you know, I'm on air. And I just said something nasty, like from Howard Stern, about a dirty Sanchez and Race and his wife. And they hung up. The whole network went down.
The whole network went
The
down.
whole network went down. They said someone hacked them, which it wasn't me. I don't know how to hack anybody, but somehow I got blamed for it all. And somehow I called in and did that joke, and it was nasty and immature, but it was so funny. I was dying. We were all laughing on the floor, laughing, crying, because I didn't think I was going to get through. And then once you do, you're so nervous. You just say something stupid, like, something dumb from, Howard Stern was all I could think of and I hadn't even listened to Stern in years. It was just off the cuff, stupid. And somebody apparently hacked them, and I got blamed for it. I don't know how to hack. Nobody I was with knows how to hack. It was just weird. I don't know what
Well,
the.
that reminds me. Do you remember? I mean, this is a famous thing, and it occurs on lots of different YouTube stuff. But do you remember that really weird thing that happened on that Art Bell show where that guy called in and he claimed that he claimed that he knew secrets about Area 51 and America's secret space program, and he was like he was very convincing, a very convincing voice actor, I or whoever he was, and he was talking to Art Bell, and he was stuttering and terrified and um, saying that he was being followed and that he just
I've
needed.
heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've heard of it. Well, what? Well, and then later, like several months later, some dude called in and claimed that he was that guy, and that it was a hoax, that he had done it on a dare, and so he gave like a demonstration of his panic voice on Art Bell. But what's weird and what everybody forgets is that all of a sudden his call ended to Art Bell, but it didn't end because the guy hung up. It ended because their entire satellite feed was cut suddenly in a way that they've never been able to explain, and that it took them a while to get the feed repaired and them hooked back up again. And there's no to this day there's no explanation for exactly how their feed was cut. And I mean, it was cut completely, not only to his show, but to the entire stupid station. And it was when this guy was on the air, and they have no idea what happened. They still don't. So it's like, you know, you going on and speaking the truth about something, um, and them freaking out about it or whatever caused some kind of meltdown somewhere. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been popped off the air like that or hacked.
it is weird. It was weird for
You
sure.
know,
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely strange. But the person I know that was with Chase, I trust. I've hung out with him before, and she had no reason to. She was always told the truth. So definitely crazy how that works. How people, come up with stuff just like that off the cuff. And I know Jim was up in Canada,
Hmm.
and
Well, you could hear him because he said a boot.
a boot,
He said a boot for about. So I immediately was like, oh, here's a Canadian. A boot.
a boot.
A boot.
know the old Dan Aykroyd's from up there. I'm surprised he's still in MUFON. I don't know if he still is, but I'm guessing he is. It's just weird how that thing happened where that dude got caught with
Yeah.
those girls or whatever, and everybody's just like still trucking with MUFON, even though the dude got caught doing weird pedo stuff or whatever. I don't even know if
Well,
they fired him.
there's probably more to move on, especially when it comes to the local level, dealing with, some of the regional directors. There's probably more to move on than the pedo guy. There are probably a lot of, just rank and file people that, they know each other, they like each other, and they want to hang out
Stay.
regardless of, yeah, regardless of
Yeah.
the situation.
I just wonder if I guess they even talk about it. They just kind of just pretend it didn't happen. It's just kind of that's a crazy one right there. This dude's doing this crap. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna still be in MUFON. La 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 la. So just fascinatingly stupid. But anyway, got about 3 minutes. Listen to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. We made it through. Hopefully everybody is I don't know if it's I wonder if a bunch of people are dealing with weird sleep stuff right now just because of everything going on. Probably so. I would think
Well,
so.
I mean, I never get enough sleep because I have to get up so early for work. But I've had some trouble sleeping. I mean, I don't trust Putin as far as he can throw him, and never have. And anybody who's read the trajectory of his life really shouldn't.
Yeah,
And as soon as he started saber rattling the nukes, I was just like, oh my god,
it's been
you know.
creepy.
And
It's been
so
creepy.
it's come to this, you
It's
know.
definitely creepy for sure, though. No matter which way, it's like a messed up James Bond villain meets Doctor Evil meets. No, not Despicable Me. Despicable Me is cool. So, but definitely creepy for sure. And the biggest thing is though, if he can't even hardly take Ukraine, how's he going to do anything else? So it's not like I don't see how he's going to come
Well,
over here and do anything to us. So,
and that's the thing. I don't think that I mean, based on what I've been hearing from a number of the sort of experts about him, including people who personally know members of his inner circle or members of his military team or whatever, their version of the Joint Chiefs, that that there's one of two possibilities. One is that um, he's one is that he's just crazy in a certain way. I mean, he's so narcissistic and has been so obsessed with Ukraine for so long, which he has been, that he's just taking this opportunity of what he considers to be vulnerability to do this. But there are other people that I've listened to, and this has come up several times. There are other people that have said, that maybe have either met him or know people personally that have been aides of his or have worked with him, and that he may have received some kind of news or some kind of diagnosis, and what this did was it forced him to really think about what he wanted his legacy to be, and
yeah,
so he's picked this time because of that.
for
You know,
cancer, they might have cancer or something.
well, cancer. I mean, I heard it being floated in 2018, and the source was a pretty good one, that he had been diagnosed with some kind of dementia.
Huh.
Of the slow progressive variety.
Well, hopefully, their fears that China and him are going to take over and they're going to start doing stuff. China is probably they're bigger than Russia. I'm sure can do a lot more damage if they wanted to.
Well, right, but they're also more pragmatic than he is, and they are apparently from the variety of their responses, sort of privately. What I understand is that they're privately rather dismayed by his sort of lack of both success but lack of circumspection about what he's doing.
Yeah,
And because I mean, China has more connections than Russia and can survive better than Russia just based on that. But there are a number of Chinese observers who believe that the manner in which he's doing it is very reckless.
all right, definitely crazy as hell. All right, everybody, we got to end this the finale here. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next show. Thanks Wham, thanks JoJo, thanks everybody. Everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you
All right.
next week for weird Bible stuff. So get ready.
Weird Bible.
Going to church in Mabus. That's right.
Okay.
Fried chicken in a blue. Captain Spaulding's murder ride.
I'll
All
see
right.
you
Have
all
a good
later.
one. Take
Good
care.
night.
Bye.